Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
This is Faith Under Fire. Each Thursday on Family Life, we give voice to religious battlegrounds in this nation. I'm your host, Tracy Lynn. With us today, Kate Anderson, Senior Counsel for Alliance Defending Freedom. This is America, a land of several protected rights, among them the freedom of speech. Most of us would guess that protected speech applies on a public college campus, but that's not the case for more and more students around the nation. Kate, would you unpack the case that Alliance Defending Freedom has taken to the U.S. Supreme Court on behalf of a student who was silenced after sharing his faith on campus in Georgia?
Well, the government is supposed to protect our freedom, not take it away, but that's not what happened to our client, Chike Uzabunam. In 2016, college officials stopped Chike from peacefully sharing his faith in a public area of his college campus. They actually stopped him twice. The first time, they told him to continue his conversations about his faith. He had to get advance permission and reserve a time in one of two tiny speech zones on campus. Those speech zones would be like standing on a piece of paper in a football field, and they were only open for about 10% of the week. But Chike did what they asked. He got advance permission, he reserved a time, and he went there to continue conversations with his fellow students. That time, two police officers contacted him, demanded his ID, told him to stop speaking, and told him that if he continued speaking about his faith, he would face discipline. But the college campus violated Chike's constitutional rights, and so ADF filed a lawsuit against the university. The college then tried to defend itself by saying that Chike's speech should receive no constitutional protection at all. Then later changed its policy enough to try to get rid of the case and say that they should get off scot-free for what they did. But government officials should be held accountable when they violate someone's constitutional rights, and the court should be able to step in and do that. That's why this case is before the U.S. Supreme Court.
The First Amendment, as you said, guarantees the right to express ideas and information, even an unpopular idea, without fear of government censorship. Does the fact that this is a public college put more weight on those speech rights for Chike as opposed to maybe attending a private school where a student signs an agreement statement pertaining to a few core principles?
Well, all universities should be a place where students can explore and debate ideas in a healthy environment without fear that their college is going to try to stop them. But certainly the fact that this is a public university puts that even more at the forefront. As a public university, these are government officials who are telling Chike and other students that they can't speak freely about their religious beliefs, and that violates the First Amendment.
The wheels of justice seem to move slowly sometimes, and since getting negative feedback, the college has since changed its speech policy, but the public schools officials were never held accountable for silencing Chike. Last week, Alliance Defending Freedom attorneys filed the merits brief at the U.S. Supreme Court, which is the next step ahead of oral arguments. What would you and the ADF team like to see happen for Chike?
Well, we'd like to see the court step in and hold these government officials accountable for violating his rights, and to make that clear that that's something courts should do across the country. Unfortunately, many universities are violating students' rights and then changing their policy enough to try to get away with it, but not to actually resolve the problem. And then that allows the universities to violate other students' rights later to change their policies back. We've actually had some colleges that we had to sue up to 7 times because of unconstitutional policies. So this is something we want to see the court step in to help Chike, but also to help students across the country on this issue.
Kate, following the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, do you think that this will impact the timeline for the next step in this case, which is oral arguments?
It's very hard to speculate on something like that. The court has continued to operate even during the pandemic. It has continued to operate in the past when there has been a justice that has had to leave the court for one reason or another. So we don't know how this may or may not affect the case.
Kate, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners about their freedoms?
Well, the government is supposed to protect our freedom, not take it away. And what's interesting in this case is that we're seeing groups from across the ideological spectrum step in and support Chike, because we all realize how important our first freedoms are and how important it is that courts be able to hold government officials accountable so that we all have more freedom.
Where can we learn more about ADF and the cases that you're fighting on behalf of religious freedom?
You can find out more about this case and all of our litigation on our webpage, adflegal.org.
That's ADF's Kate Anderson. I'm Tracy Lynn, Family Life News.